In the mid-1990s, English football was a game of mud, sweat, and long balls. This was the era of kick and rush, where physicality reigned supreme and tactical nuance was a secondary thought. On September 22, 1996, Arsenal appointed a man from Nagoya Grampus 8. Arsene Wenger was an outsider, a polyglot who looked more like a professor than a football manager. Highbury was the stage, a tight pitch, an intimate atmosphere, and a tradition that was about to be dismantled and rebuilt from the ground up. Wenger's first strike wasn't tactical, it was biological. He banned sugar, red meat, and the infamous drinking culture. He introduced vitamins, creatine, and a diet that treated players like high-performance engines. Training sessions became shorter but infinitely more intense. Every second was measured. The focus shifted from stamina to speed of thought and technical precision. Wenger's first major signing was a statement. Patrick Vieira brought a combination of 6'4" physicality and the technical grace of a ballet dancer. He was the engine of the new machine. By 1998, the revolution had its first rewards. Arsenal overcame an 11-point deficit to Manchester United to win the Premier League and the FA Cup. The double was a signal of a changing guard. Wenger didn't invent the 4-4-2, but he perfected its fluidity. He demanded his fullbacks, like Lee Dixon and Nigel Winterburn, to join the attack, creating numerical superiorities in the final third. While English clubs looked at local talent, Wenger looked at the world. He utilized a vast scouting network and data-driven insights to find undervalued gems in France and beyond. In 1999, Wenger signed a struggling winger from Juventus named Thierry Henry. He saw a world-class striker where others saw a failure. It was the most important transformation in the club's history. Wenger ball was born, a style defined by one-touch football and verticality. It wasn't just about possession. It was about moving the ball from defense to goal in the blink of an eye. The numbers were staggering. Arsenal began to dominate possession and pass accuracy metrics that were previously unheard of in the physical landscape of the Premier League.
The left-sided partnership of Robert Pires and Ashley Cole became the most lethal in Europe. Their telepathic understanding allowed Arsenal to bypass entire midfields with ease.
This was more than a game. It was a clash of philosophies. Wenger's idealism against Ferguson's pragmatism. The Premier League became a two-horse race of the highest tactical order. In 2002, Arsenal won the title at the home of their greatest rivals. It was a 1-0 victory that cemented Wenger's machine as the new standard-bearer of English football. In 2002, Wenger made a prophecy. He claimed his team could go an entire season without losing. The media laughed. They called him arrogant. They called him crazy. The 2003-04 season began with a quiet efficiency. No one knew they were witnessing the birth of a legend. The machine was now fully optimized. Every machine needs a stabilizer. Gilberto Silva, the invisible wall, provided the defensive cover that allowed the creative players to roam free without fear of counterattacks. Dennis Bergkamp was the architect. His ability to find space between the lines of the opposition's defense and midfield was the key to unlocking the low block defenses. The data showed that Arsenal were the fastest team in Europe in transition. They could turn a defensive corner into a goal at the other end in less than 10 seconds. The pressure was immense. Every game was a battle. The rivalry with Manchester United boiled over in the tunnel, but Wenger's men refused to break. Wenger understood that even a fast-forward machine needed a steel casing. Sol Campbell's controversial move from Spurs provided the physical dominance needed to survive the Premier League's brutality. Game after game, the streak grew. 30, 40, 45. The psychological advantage Arsenal held was total. Opponents felt defeated before they even stepped onto the pitch. May 15th, 2004. Played 38, won 26, drawn 12, lost 0. Arsene Wenger's prophecy had come true. He had built the perfect, unbeatable machine.
Tactically, it was a hybrid. Henry would drift left, Pires would move inside, and Ljungberg would make diagonal runs. It was a nightmare for traditional zonal marking systems.
Wenger played a dangerously high defensive line. It required immense bravery and a sweeper keeper like Jens Lehmann, but it squeezed the life out of the opposition's midfield.
But the machine was expensive to maintain. Wenger knew that to compete with the rising wealth of Chelsea and others, Arsenal needed a bigger stadium. The move to the Emirates was a financial necessity. All things must end. At 49 games, the run was stopped in a blizzard of controversy at Old Trafford. The machine had finally been halted, but its legacy was already written. As the physical giants of the Invincibles moved on, Wenger pivoted again. He turned to youth and pure technicality, epitomized by a young Spaniard named Cesc Fabregas. The ultimate prize eluded him. In 2006, Wenger's young side reached the Champions League final, only to fall short in the final minutes. It was the closest the machine ever got to European glory. For a decade, Wenger had to balance the books. He sold his best players, Henry, Fabregas, Van Persie, to pay for the stadium. Yet he never failed to qualify for the Champions League.
The league Wenger had revolutionized was changing again. New managers arrived with even more intense pressing systems, built on the foundations of the fast-forward football Wenger had introduced.
Wenger was a pioneer of data. Today's obsession with XG, heat maps, and recovery metrics started with the Frenchman's belief that football could be understood through numbers. Even in his later years, the magic remained. Wenger became the most successful manager in FA Cup history, winning it 7 times. It was a testament to his enduring tactical relevance. The end was difficult. A section of the fans grew restless. The man who had built the modern club was now being asked to leave it. The machine was stalling. In May 2018, after 22 years, Arsene Wenger stepped down. He left behind a club transformed and a league that no longer recognized its former muddy self. Compare the league he found to the league he left. He replaced brutality with beauty and long balls with logic. He accelerated the evolution of English football by decades. Wenger made the Premier League a global product. He proved that international diversity was the key to tactical superiority, changing the recruitment strategy of every club in the country. He once said, "Football is an art, like dancing is an art." He treated the pitch like a canvas, and his players like the brushstrokes of a masterpiece. Traditional English football died so that the modern game could live. Arsene Wenger didn't just manage a team, he built a fast-forward machine that changed the world of sports forever.